All right, my man, we're going to go live in 1 second.
All right.
This is Podcast of Being Back here with Scott Whitley, my friend. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. So tell me about your childhood, first and foremost, in interviews. Give me a little bit of your background on your childhood.
Well, my childhood was really growing up in the restaurant and industry, and of course the radio industry with my father. I remember as a boy, really during the summer, ruining my hands being a dishwasher when I was in high school. Even before I got to high school, I would ride my bike. I used to live in Salisbury Beach, and I would ride my bike to work. It was at the Hungry Traveler, and I worked there during the summers for like 3 years in a row, and it took about 10 years for my hands to return back then. But that's how I got into the food side of it. And of course, my father, it was always in the radio side of it, and we traveled all over the country. He was at WNBC in New York, and he's the person that hired Don Imus and Wolfman Jack. So and he was also the National Program Director of the Year in New York City, and they came to Boston many years later and took talk radio to Boston. So that's how my step into the restaurant industry and the radio business and show business all got together.
Now, where did the name Wicked Bites come from?
It was a combination of things. We had a meeting with some folks in the office at the time when I wanted to put together the TV show. Yeah. And, I came up with an idea for the television show, and I wanted to be a little bit different, and I kind of put a proposal out. And, I kind of said, all right, other shows are doing certain things, and I wanted to make it a little bit different. And I wanted to have more fun with the show and not take the dining side too advanced. So we came into a meeting, and I said, all right, there's about 5 or 6 of us in that meeting. And I said, look, let's all come up with certain names, and we're going to see what kind of sticks. And there was a name that was proposed. I think it was Wicked Eats. And I said, I kind of like the name Wicked, but I wasn't really fond with Eats. And I just said to myself, you know what? Let me run that on an internet, on a Google search. And the funniest thing that came out, because I wanted to see if anybody had that name anyways before we kind of talked about it, discussed it a little bit more. And what came out on the internet search was Wicked and the word bites, but the computer bites with the Y.
Yeah.
And I instantly knew that's it. It's Bites.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it all came about.
Wow. So I don't know if you remember this. I met you a couple years ago. I think it was in 2012 or 2010 at Angelica's for Joey Voices.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Me and Joey go way back.
Joey Voices does about 40 different singing impressions. I was just talking with Joey just the other day about possibly doing some more shows with him. We kind of got away from them for a while just because I've been so busy to really organize them. But we were just talking about maybe trying some over the winter time.
Yeah. So how would you guys do that then? If you guys were to do, how would you guys do shows together? Like how would that work if you guys were to do them again?
Well, we'll announce them up on our Facebook page, and also if folks sign up for our online newsletter, we'll send out that information. And he does a singing impression show. It's comedy, it's music, it's a whole bunch of fun, and of course, it always comes with dinner.
It does.
And it's a fun night out for folks. So we've been trying to put things together, but unfortunately, not much has worked out because of the restaurants right now. It's hard to get a restaurant at a reasonable price, and I'm saying, I just don't want to charge $100 a ticket. For Joey's show, I really like to make them reasonable so more people can go. So I've been working at trying to find some different locations that could put together some groups that could come in on a Friday, Saturday night, even or Sunday afternoon. We used to do them at the China Blossom in North Andover, and they would always sell out. We've done as many, I think it's about 500 or 600 people at a time for Joey's shows. So look forward to that maybe coming back. I'm hoping over the next couple of months.
Yes. Now tell me a little bit about your radio show, because I've heard your show on RKO several times. I've listened to it quite a bit, actually. How did the radio show get started?
My father actually started the radio show, we think back in 1977. It was by mistake. It was back in 1977, like I said, it was a 4th of July weekend that was coming up, and it was a Friday of that 4th of July weekend. It was hot and humid. And he was doing a talk radio show, political show on WMEX at the time, which later became WITS and had the Red Sox and stuff like that. And it was a talk station. And my father kind of brought talk to this market. And it was that hot weekend. There were no cell phones at that time, and he couldn't get a phone call. And the weirdest thing was, after 45 minutes of reading the newspaper, basically going through movie listings and calling the governor every name you could think of, he just said, "Hey, whatever you want to talk about." And a lady called out about Szechuan food, which was brand new at the time, and fried ice cream, which nobody ever heard of. And that restaurant, I called the management over at the radio station. They had my father come in with the management and said, "Look, I got good news and bad news. I would love for you to do that show again, and I'll become your first sponsor. But the bad news is I'm about to file for bankruptcy protection." And that's how the restaurant show got started back in '77. And that's how Whaley's got started. And Whaley's grew to about 13 locations at one time.
Now, tell me about, you had a guy on the show a couple weeks ago. What was his name? I think it was, Sal from, the food truck he sells? Do you remember that? I guess you had on a couple weeks back.
We've done a lot of food truck shows. We did the Big Bad Food Truck on a radio show not too long ago, which is a barbecue food truck up in New Hampshire that travels around.
I think it might have been here.
There's so many great food trucks that specialize in one or two items. And they're unique individuals. They're all characters. Because you got to be a little bit unique. You're working in a very tight, confined spot on wheels. So you got to have some fun with it. And some of these food trucks are just fantastic. I love when they do these food truck like events, and you could get to try several different types, from cupcakes to empanadas to lobster rolls and so many more things in between.
So I'm a picky eater when it comes to food. I'm a very picky eater when it comes to food, actually. I'll just lay that down for the record. I like grilled cheese, chicken fingers, and pizza, particularly frozen pizza. Have you ever had the guy from Roxy's Grilled Cheese on your show? James Sabatino, I think his name is. His name is James.
We've done some grilled cheese shows because they're no longer like grilled cheese for kids anymore. They've gone into that adult world where they kind of just hype them up with all these type of things to it. I like a great grilled cheese sandwich, but for me, it all comes down now as an adult to the bread. How do you get the bread? And then, of course, you load anything with cheese, it's going to be fantastic.
What kind of bread do you like it on?
I kind of like it like a thicker, like a Texas toast type of a bread. Sometimes I've seen them where they cut a brioche more into it like a sliced type of bread. And I think that gives the sweetness. It all depends on what other ingredients, whether you want to put bacon on top of it. I've seen guacamole on top. I've seen so many things. Sauteed onions go real well now on top of it as well. So there's a lot of things you could do with grilled cheese. But, for me, I'm not as picky. I'll try things once, whether I like it or not, particularly for the television show. What always has gotten me is I just don't like oysters. If they're fried oysters, I have no problem with it. I actually prefer that over fried clams. But just regular oysters, I've never understood it at all. And to me, it's tough going down, and I want to keep them down at the same time.
Wow. So let me ask you this question. Have you guys, RKO, because I work at RKO Station a lot, have you met all the guys like Grace, Jeff, all those guys? In
time to time. I do the radio show remotely, and most of us do this now. We've been doing the radio show remote for about 20 years now. It's not longer than that. We were one of the first in the country to do it on a regular basis, where we could just pop up and we go from one radio station to the next. And of course, we've met Grace and Howie and Cooner at a lot of functions. And I know Cooner's celebrating his 10th anniversary coming up in just a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend because I'm going to be away.
Neither will I. I'll be at another event as well.
So I was hoping that I could go back. And Jeff's a very simple person. He likes to wear jeans and T-shirts, and he'll just go out to any place that's not too fancy. That's what Jeff likes.
Now, Wicked Bites, your restaurant chain. You guys have any funny question? Do you guys have any karaoke there at Wicked Bites? Any karaoke stuff that happens go on over there?
I have not done that, probably because I can't sing. So I've never done. Maybe we could put Steve karaoke, but Steve can't sing either.
Really?
So that could be. But he'll probably do it. I might need a whole bunch of drinks to try it.
Well, let me tell you a fact about that. So I sing karaoke every couple once a week at different places, and I sing like a lot of Kiss, Van Halen, Parliament. I do a lot of 80s rock.
School.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going old school there.
Yeah. So I do a ton of it. I'm 27, but yeah, I do a lot of like old school songs like Parliament, Bon Jovi, Black Sabbath, like all the old stuff, the goodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, you're talking Kiss is very, everything that you're doing there, they're very iconic in their performances.
Yeah. Yep. Now, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on the restaurant Fuddruckers? Do you like them, or do you consider them a competitor, like a place like that?
Fuddruckers?
Yes.
Talking about?
Yes.
I think Fuddruckers does a pretty good job. I haven't been to one recently.
Yeah.
But I've always liked their burgers. I used to like them more about 10 years ago, and I don't know why. I thought the burgers were always great, and there's so many different burger places. And matter of fact, we saw this I would say probably about less than a decade ago. Every restaurant had to go with a great burger, and I'm talking even high-end restaurants. You go to the finest steakhouses, and they have a burger on their menu that might be made out of like ribeye steak, some of the trimmings from that, and they give you that extra flavor. And you get the Kobe beef burgers, which have a different fat ratio. It's like a 60-40 blend instead of the 80-20 blend. So you can find a lot of places that are doing that now, but every restaurant, they all seem to have one burger that they want to put their hat on.
Mm. Now, let me ask you, so what does your dad do these days, your father, Pat? What's he doing nowadays?
He's pretty much retired. I mean, he does the voiceover for the television show, so he'll come in, like once a month just to do that. And that's pretty much what he's done since he stopped doing the radio show I would say about 5-6 years ago when he stopped and retired. And I kind of took over on a regular full-time basis at that point.
Mm. What made him retire, you think?
He did it for many, many years. I think he was just ready to move on, and he wasn't going out to the restaurants as often as he used to.
No,
because it's a lot of work. I mean,
a lot of work.
Let's face it. You go to a lot of restaurants near your house, that's fine. But for me and the television show, I'm in Providence one day. I could be in Portland, Maine. Where is it? Springfield.
What about Tewksbury?
The other day. Excuse me.
What about Tewksbury? I live in Tewksbury. Do you ever go to
Tewksbury all the time? We got a segment coming up on the television show, not this weekend, but on the 22nd of October. Yeah. Wicked Cheesy. So if you said you like pizza, we sent Bianca down to Wicked Cheesy and had a great time there. It's much more than their pizzas, and she was in the kitchen making pizza. They do some great wings and some great subs there as well.
Mm. Do you like chicken fingers at all, Rush? Do you like to get chicken fingers at all? See, I'm a big fan of those.
I do, and they've really worked hard on making those even better at a lot of restaurants. They're really experimenting now with the sauces and the batter and the way they're frying them. And some of the restaurants have different type of batters, and they won't really show me or tell me some of the secrets. I don't know if they
why
fry them twice because they don't want anybody else to do it. I mean, it's becoming that popular. And again, it's not for kids. I could have chicken fingers at any time. Matter of fact, you ever have a chicken finger sub?
No.
Yeah, try it. It's pretty good.
Really? It's very good.
Yeah, because you get that crunch from the chicken, and you get the sauce, and of course, you get the bread.
Wow, it's very interesting. Now, funny question about pizza. Have you ever had frozen pizza? Have you ever had the Ilios pizza?
I have. I'm not. I don't hate on frozen pizza. I think some of the frozen pizzas are really, really good.
Good.
I had one just the other day. I don't even know what brand it was. It was just. I saw it in the freezer section at the supermarket, and I said, I'm going to give it a try. And it was like a sausage, chicken, ranch flatbread, and it wasn't as good as like a restaurant. I'm not going to say it's that good. But it when I did it in the toaster oven, I got the crunch from the bread back, and it had a lot of flavor to it. I was really surprised that it was a pretty good representation, even though it was frozen compared to a restaurant.
Yeah, very much.
Which is tough. And when you freeze something, that's not the easiest thing because sauces break down. The meats break down. So you got to do it just right, and it's an art form when they put it all together. And I've seen a lot of these processing companies really work on their products and how they could take a product that, let's say, a salad dressing. The New Bridge Cafe has great salad dressing. If you go there, you could have it on salad, and they use it as a marinade. But when they sell it at the stores and they bottle it, they had to change the recipe.
Wow.
For it. For it to actually be, I don't want to say official or, where they're allowed to sell it that way, because the product has to have a shelf life to it. It's actually a little bit thicker, but the same taste. And I actually think the ones in the supermarket are even better, because it is a little bit thicker. It tends to cling on to whatever you want to do, whether you want to use it on salad dressing or as a marinade.
Yeah, very interesting thought. Now, what is your website called? Your website? Do you have a website of yourself? Because I know that.
Yeah. Well, I just keep one for the television show, wickedbites.tv, but most of our stuff is done up on social media. Wicked Bites TV on Facebook is really a great source for us. I stream the radio show live up there every single Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
And you can follow it along there. Plus, a lot of our features that we do on the television show, you'll be able to see them up on our Facebook page about a week later. And I got one coming up, Pickety Place up in Mason, New Hampshire. It'll probably be released the next day or so on our Facebook page. And that place is spectacular. Set up in the country up in Mason, New Hampshire. And it's really farm to table, or more herbs to table, because they have a lot of herbs and edible flowers that they garnish all of their dishes with. Yeah. And they only have 3 seatings, and they're only for lunch. And you have to have reservations only. And they're always sold out. And their menu changes every single month. And the house, the cottage, is like 300 years old. And it's actually the cottage that they used for the illustration of Little Red Riding Hood. So Disney came to town back in the 1930s.
Really?
And used that setting. And it's just a really, really cool destination dining location. But you'll see that coming up on our Facebook page, Wicked Bites TV, up on Facebook.
So when your show becomes an Apple Podcast, available on podcast streaming platforms, will the ads be taken out? Will you take the commercials out of your show? Because I don't like advertisements constantly after every single show. You think? What do you think?
It depends. On some we do. Right now, we have
under contract, right?
What we can do as far as podcasting and even putting up the television show up. Like, I cannot at the moment put the television show up on our social media platforms yet for people to watch. That's because of television contracts and radio contracts. That's where our first priority is right now. So we're always trying to give on our social media just something different, a different flair, a different taste, because we can't put everything up there. We'll go live from time to time when we're out filming, so people can see us backstage having fun and trying some food. And we always love the suggestions. I'll put a post up there. From time to time, if I'm looking for the best chicken fingers, I'll put that post up there, and there'll be several hundred responses. Really? And we look at those, and if we want to use some of those for the television show, some place that sounds really unique, we kind of just put them aside, and eventually we get to them.
You mentioned karaoke a few minutes ago. You say, didn't you say that Steve doesn't sing? Or Steve can't sing?
No, I think it's better when you don't sing, right? For karaoke, it's more fun.
No, but yeah. Now, what up? Now, do you think Bianca would sing? Bianca, would she do it, you think, karaoke?
I don't know. Maybe. I'll have to ask Bianca.
Yeah. Well, thanks for on the show today, Scott. Been a great time on your show, and thank you for coming on my show today, Scott. It's been a very good time having you on today, and I want to appreciate you coming on the show, and hope we can keep in touch, my friend. I'll definitely talk to you soon.
You got it, Brian.
Thanks, Scott. Oh, before you go real quick, tell Joey Voices that Brian McCauley said hello. I don't know exactly who you're talking about when you see him again.
I definitely will tell him.
Thank you, Scott. You're going to be hungry now, huh?
Seriously, I want some wicked.